Hello, you beautiful beings. Welcome back to the channel. Do I have a treat for you today? For our April interview, we are going to hear from the amazing, incredible Dr. Erin Lightfoot, who's going to talk to us about one of our favorite topics, attachment theory, one of the most popular topics in modern psychology. We are going to take a little journey with each of the attachment styles today. Erin has also blessed us with some free gifts, which we're going to talk about soon. Erin is this amazing storehouse of wisdom. She is a wellness and attachment guide, and she is a specialist in helping all of us who may struggle a little bit with anxiety learn to kind of get out of our heads and the madness that can exist there and kind of get back into our bodies so that we can feel our clear intuition and learn to trust ourselves and from that place of intuition and trust so that we can form deep, long-lasting, thriving, and secure soul-to-soul connections and relationships, growing in our connections to ourselves, to others, to the spirit world, from a place of emotional regulation. And I think that's like pretty much what all of us are after, and it's just exactly what I'm always hoping to offer you here on the channel. So thank you, Erin, for spending this precious time with us, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Love you so much, Maya Joy. Hello, everybody. So honored to be here. This is going to be so fun. I'm so excited. One of my favorite topics ever.
Oh, thank you, Erin. Dr. Erin, could you just say just a little bit about your PhD?
Sure. So my PhD is in mindfulness, emotional intelligence, and relational leadership. And I have struggled with anxiety my whole life. So really, my PhD, I didn't choose this path. It chose me. And throughout my journey with anxiety in this lifetime, it was actually through my first time experiencing mindful breathing that it was just this flipped my world inside out and upside down in the best way possible, to where it was the first time in my life that I'd ever been consciously aware of my whole nervous system and my body just slowing down. And I distinctly remember thinking, after practicing mindful breathing, which I'd never even heard of the term mindfulness at this point, I distinctly remember thinking, okay, I don't know what just happened, but I want more of that. And so that's what ultimately sparked my breadcrumb trail toward wellness and healing. And I started taking all these meditation classes and mindfulness classes and yoga classes and breathwork classes, because I just wanted to keep soaking up all this yummy, good feeling of calm. Because I was tired of feeling like a cat on a hot tin roof all the time. And through that experience, I began to wonder, how might my life have been different if I had been taught to breathe as a child? And so that became the North Star of my doctoral research, which is in mindfulness for kindergartners in public education. And through my doctoral research, it dawned on me that, oh my gosh, adults need this too. We were never taught how to emotionally regulate or regulate our emotions. And so my work, really, my doctoral work is in mindfulness and emotional intelligence. And through my doctoral research, researching children, that's where I stumbled on this thing called attachment styles. And while I was looking at it through the lens of a 5-year-old, then I just got that breadcrumb trail brought me into the attachment world. And I just began to realize that the quality of our life is really determined by the quality of our relationships and our consistent emotions. And all of that is experienced in your attachment style. So when you know your attachment style, that is the ultimate relationship to self. Your attachment style that shows you your core wounds, your personality needs, your emotional patterns, your communication style, your relationship to boundaries, as well as your coping mechanisms. And all of this is felt in the body through your subconscious mind. That's really what your attachment style is. It's a subconscious set of rules for how you learn to feel safe relating and connecting with others in relationships. And while the emphasis in the attachment world is often on romantic partnerships, again, it really is the ultimate connection to self. And it's important to understand that your attachment style is not a diagnosis. It's a set of patterns. And it's important to understand that your attachment style can change at any age. And so I'm really passionate so while my doctoral research is in looking at the emotional inner world of a 5-year-old, I realize now Spirit brought me to understand the inner world of a 5-year-old because I'm meant to work with adults inner children, to learn how to recondition your attachment style to become securely attached. Because when somebody tells me, I want to feel happy, the subtext of what I'm hearing them say is, I want to be secure. And so that is what I'm helping people do, is to become securely attached within themselves, because that affects every relationship you have, family, friends, romantic, business, as well as your ability to connect with your higher self and your spirit. It's really hard to hear the guidance when you're in a fog bank of anxiety. And so often our insecure attachment styles are perpetuating the anxiety that can be reduced when you get to know yourself on a deeper level.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I just have a few comments on this journey. Number one, inside of every single adult is a 5-year-old. Like, you know what I mean? So that is absolutely beautiful. But what really stuns me about you is you experienced mindfulness and you were like, this is really good. And a normal person would be like, yeah, this is really good. Maybe I'll do this some other time again. But you were like, no, this is like really good. Let me get my PhD in this. Like, let me like master this craft. And I think like there's such a strong connection between, well, first of all, I want you to define mindfulness before we move forward. But being aware of one's inner world is an important step in the process of self-discovery. I think it's difficult to even know, like, how, like, it's difficult to even understand that you might even have an attachment style, let alone what it is, if you're not pausing in that moment of awareness. So before we begin with each of the attachment styles, because people in our audience may not know, could you give us just a brief definition of what mindfulness is?
Absolutely. So the textbook definition of mindfulness from Dr. John Kabat-Zinn is mindfulness is the awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally. So you're aware of what's happening in the present moment. So not tomorrow, not yesterday, on purpose. So there's a deliberacy in paying attention to what's going on. And non-judgmentally. And I would say that that's probably the more challenging aspect of a mindfulness practice, is not getting swept up in the story.
Yeah.
So it's called, referred to as turning on your observer, just observing your surroundings, observing what's going on within you, being really mindful. This is where like mindful eating comes from, mindful listening, mindful communication. There's an awareness, a deliberate awareness that you're not judging.
Absolutely love it. You know, my favorite time every single day is when I do my cooking for my dinner at the end of the night, and I don't listen to anything, and I allow my mind to be totally free, and then I giggle because I laugh at like, oh my God, this thought. And it's so, oh my God, it's so good. Like, just to have that space, you know, where I'm not digesting anything. I'm just allowing to digest. And that has improved my quality of life so much, because it's made me aware of how impacted I am by what I take in.
Yes, like, absolutely.
Because that becomes the thoughts, you know, at the end of the day. But anyway, we're going to have you back to talk more about mindfulness specifically. But let's deep dive here a little bit into the attachment theories. And so, first of all, can you give us like a 1 minute or less description? If, let's say, someone has never heard of attachment theory, what the heck is this?
Yeah, so attachment theory is the attachment theory that cause I'm also a certified integrated attachment theory relationship coach and a certified breathing coach, certified health and nutrition coach, and a yoga and mindfulness instructor. So again, all of this is about getting into the body.
Erin is certified in everything. If you have any question about whether or not she's qualified or certified, she is. Okay, don't worry about that. That's the truth. Like this is a very skilled and qualified woman. Okay.
And so the attachment theory world that I really subscribe to is integrated attachment theory, which integrates the subconscious mind. Because if you want to heal, you need to target the root, and the root is your subconscious mind. And so, again, your attachment style is a subconscious set of rules that you learned in early childhood from like 0 to 2 for how to relate to others. And so your attachment style was formed most often in early childhood. It can change throughout your life, like depending on it's really just who you're repeatedly exposed to. The term repeated, repetition, whatever you were repeatedly exposed to, along with an emotional input, that's what imprinted your subconscious mind that you made meaning. Okay, so what does that all mean? That means that in early childhood, if you experienced a lot of love and a lot of attention and affection and approach-oriented behaviors, you're probably going to feel really secure about yourself, because you're going to make meaning of, I matter, and when I cry, my needs are met. Whereas if you experienced, which many of us experienced, the opposite of that, where maybe some emotional neglect or inconsistencies, we make meaning out of that. And children, they don't have the cognitive ability to distinguish between, my parents leaving for work every day. Why are they leaving? This feeling of love feels so good. Why are they leaving? Why do I have to go to daycare, all day long, or spend all this time with other people? I want to be with my caregivers. They'll make meaning of, oh my gosh, I'm going to be abandoned. Or if they were shamed for their emotions, stop crying, stop being a baby. They're going to interpret the meaning of, emotions feel bad. I don't like this. Therefore, I'm going to I need distance away from people, and I'm going to become hyper independent because emotions feel bad. Mm-hmm. And then there's people who experienced kind of a smattering of all of that, and as a result can experience a lot of inner chaos of, I really, I crave emotional connection, but I fear it at the same time. And so
we're gonna profile each of these types. Mm-hmm. But basically, on a very simple level, this is like whether someone is super huggy. Like, have you ever met a person and they just come up to you and they're, oh my God, give me a hug, like,
that's me.
And they kiss you on the cheek, and like you're like, wow, cool, like this is like the first time we met, like, oh my God. Or like you sit down with someone and it's like you've been friends for 9 years and they're like super standoffish, and like you sit down with them at a table and they like push their chair back a little bit and they're like,
yep.
Okay, I'm good. Like that's what it is. So like These are styles and ways of relating with the world. One thing we want to convey is that these are not diagnoses. This is not a pathology. This is like a style. It's like your way of dressing or your favorite color. Not exactly like that, but it's a style of relating. And so couple things before we begin. Number one, if you are curious, what is my style? What is the style of someone close to me? We have so many goodies, an overwhelming amount of goodies that are going to be linked in a pinned comment and in the description box below. The first of which is Erin's amazing attachment style quiz that you can take to get a sense of which of the 4 attachment styles you might be. We're going to talk about each of those in just a moment. As an additional incredible, amazing gift that you would be foolish not to take advantage of, Erin is also offering an exploratory call, a free 30-minute call with her where you can talk a little bit about your experience with your attachment style or the attachment style of someone else. Details for that call will also be linked in the description below. But with all of that said, I think it's time now for us to discuss the very first attachment style. Okay, maybe one that might be like the most famous. I think this one is the one that's easiest to see. This is the one that's most typically expressed in films and media. And this is the anxious preoccupied, sometimes called the love addict. Tell us a little bit about this one, Erin.
Yeah, so the anxiously attached people, you can't not love an anxiously attached person. Talk about charisma. They're just so kind, attentive in relationships, warm, likable, friendly. They're just so warm and fuzzy. It's often because the anxiously attached person, speaking of the subconscious connection from childhood, they are operating from a deep subconscious fear of abandonment. And because of this fear of abandonment, they are often seeking constant reassurance from others, a lot of closeness, a lot of clinginess. They tend to overthink, and struggle with self-trust. They feel most at home in relationships, but often can lose themselves in the process. So I would say that spiritually, the lesson for an anxiously attached person is really to return to their inner worthiness and their divine self-love. So if I'm working with an anxiously attached person, we're going to be doing a whole lot of work around self-soothing, boundaries, and learning to speak your needs for closeness without the fear of, if I tell them that I need regular communication and they're going to abandon me. We work through all those wounds.
That must be a journey. Like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I love my own one work with clients. Like, it is such a blessing to be let into another person's world, like, so deeply. And the world of the anxious preoccupied is like, I don't know, like, I'm thinking like Little Mermaid, like under the sea. Do you get what I mean? It's like you don't, some people, like, you go under and it's just water, but no, this is like you go under and there's like a whole world down there, and there's castles and there's so much going on inside. It's tremendous.
Yeah.
It's tremendous. Yeah. It's tremendously complex inside. On the surface, we got this person that's like, love me, and I'll be the perfect partner to you. And like, they are so accommodating and wonderful. Inside, suffering, layers and layers and layers of suffering. Like, it's tremendous. So that's my experience, like, right? But I'm not the expert here, but in my little bit of work with others, that's what I've noticed. Could you tell us? And I would say doing
a lot of self-forgiveness around that too, because anxiously attached folks can really judge themselves for, I want to stop texting my partner 5 times in a row, but I'm just so panicked because I haven't heard back from them. And what we want to do is help them understand that this is a trauma response from that fear of abandonment, and to help them see the opposite about how they're actually really accepted and included, and to learn to accept and include themselves, hence the self-soothing. And it really is a magical experience. It's so cool to see when an anxiously attached person finally, like, I wasn't so panicked when I didn't hear back from them, and I was able to stay in my body. It's totally possible.
And out of all the types, this is the one that Erin, I would say, most loves guiding. Guiding through that process back to peace, back to harmony, back to security. She is the specialist in all things, but especially this one. Could you provide to us an example of a celebrity who sort of exhibits this kind of style, someone that people might be aware of?
Sure. And I would say with this example, the one celebrity that comes to mind is Taylor Swift. And so Taylor Swift, she sings a lot about heartbreak, longing, and emotional intensity. And I would also say that Taylor Swift is an example of somebody, she's done a fair amount of personal growth work. She seems to have like a fair amount of secure attachment within herself. I mean, look at what she's doing with her career. So she's a good example of how attachment styles it's not like it's not like you're putting yourself into a box. It's a spectrum. And you can have, anxious leaning, secure attachment, for example. And I think that she would be a good example of that. But that's to give you a sense of the thought patterns of an anxiously attached. Anxiously attached people are always just really pretty consistently thinking about relationships. Relationships are their number one. Like, if they're not in a relationship, they're often looking for the next relationship.
Longing.
Even like with social and friendships, and like relationships are just number one in the anxiously attached world. So that's who comes to mind. And I'd say that with so much respect and love for Taylor Swift.
Yeah, and I mean, it can be fine. Like, it can be cool to be anxiously attached. I feel like a lot of artists probably are. But you really hear it in her music, that longing, even though it's all is fair in love and war, it's a journey, but like, there's that deep longing for intimacy and to be met and to be seen. 100%. So, like, maybe someone out there is listening and they're like, oh, I think this might be me, right? Like, this is someone close to me. Like, how might someone know? What's a sign that you might be anxiously preoccupied?
Constant thinking about relationships. Oftentimes with taking a close look at your expectations in relationships. Do you prefer to be in contact with somebody all the time? Like, are you somebody who can text all day long? Do you want to hear from your partner morning, noon, and night? Do you struggle with exclusion? Like, if a group of friends goes out and you weren't included in the group, is that gonna trigger a core wound of, oh my gosh, it must be me? Like, are we gonna personalize that? Things like that, clues like that generally lean toward anxiously attached. This like longing to be in close proximity, proximity, connection, being in relationship at all times. And because anxiously attached people tend to soothe through other people. This is why we want to work on self-soothing as a way to become securely attached.
Okay, yeah. So if someone is anxious, preoccupied, it really is in the strategies for self-soothing that they're going to begin their healing journey. And if you're out there and you're anxious, preoccupied, and you're wanting to explore some of those strategies for self-soothing, I highly encourage you to book the free strategy call with Erin and talk to her, because there's just no possible way that we can bring through all of her wisdom and strategies in today's interview. Otherwise, it would be like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 million, bajillion hours long. So anyway, that was a beautiful description. For me personally, I like to keep things simple for people sometimes to help them understand. And so the way, like, if someone's brand new to all of this, the way that I sort of frame it to them, my own personal metaphor in my mind is what I sort of call the appetite metaphor. Because a lot of us are familiar with food and eating. Hopefully everyone is like, okay, but we could have someone out there who's a breatharian or whatever. But like, basically, these are the people who have the highest appetite for intimacy. And so, like, out there in the world, we really do have different appetites. These are the people that need volume eating. Like, this is a person who needs the buffet. Like, this is like someone, and it's not, again, this is not a pathology. This is a style. This is appetites, right? Like, they have a strong appetite and they need a lot of food to feel full and satisfied. But that food isn't that they're taking in. It's actually attention, love, warm thoughts, warm words, that sort of thing. So this is someone with a high appetite for intimacy. Like, if you're out there and you're like, I think I need a lot. Like, I like to hear from my partner a lot. For my best friend, 10 texts a day is good. But to be honest, if I had what I wanted, I want 500 texts a day. Like, that's what I really want, so high appetite. You need a lot to feel full, or you need more to feel full, more love, more attention, more intimacy than the average. High appetite. Okay.
Absolutely. And to not judge yourself if that is you. It's just recognizing, oh, this is my pattern. And, it's
No, that's a cool way to be, right? Like, competitive eating is a thing. Do you get what I mean?
For sure.
Like,
everybody loves the anxiously attached. It's like, you can't not. They're just so charming and loving and likable. And also that's just a subconscious strategy of, if I'm so warm and likable, then you won't leave me because you're going to like me. And so there's a lot of that. And
Erin, I think all these types are great. Like, you can be a great, amazing, wonderful, incredible person and have any of these styles. Yeah. So for the sake of time though, let's move on. I think we you did an amazing job describing anxious, preoccupied. Let's talk about what I have found to be the one that people struggle to understand the most. Like, I personally, in my coaching work, I get the most questions about this one, which is the fearful avoidant. People are like, am I this? Is this me? I don't know what's happening. Like, tell me, Maya. So, like, this one you describe as being like hot and cold, right? So like we had the love addict for anxious, preoccupied. This is the hot and cold person in relationships. Can you tell us more? Like, can you describe the style to us a little bit?
Right, I will. And then, so after the fearful, just spoiler alert, we're going to talk about the dismissive avoidant. But the fearful avoidant this is the person, and a sign for you, if as you beautifully described, Maya, of like, is this me? I don't know. Fearful avoidants have both sides of the attachment spectrum. They have both the anxious of needing the closeness and that connection and that proximity, but also the dismissive avoidant, which is needing space and independence. So they crave intimacy, but also fear it at the same time. This is the person in relationships who can flip flop, in, out, up, down, back, forth. And they alternate between clinginess and shutting down, longing for closeness while also fearing betrayal and rejection. And it often stems from chaotic or inconsistent early childhood relationships. So on an extreme level, this is not everybody, okay? But on an extreme level, somebody who experienced a lot of maybe domestic violence in the home, substance abuse, alcoholism, moving around a lot. So that's a lot of chaos. That created a sense of hypervigilance and needing to read between the lines. So a fearful avoidant is somebody who can literally almost like they can read through people. They can see, detect changes in micro expression, tone of voice, and like inflection and tone of voice, changes in pattern. I call them a living, walking, breathing lie detector. They're so hyper vigilant. We can walk into, I say we because this is the camp that I come from, we can walk into a room and read the energy real quick. And that's because of early childhood. We had to read between the lines. Is mom going to be nice today? Is she in a bad mood? Is dad really, has he been drinking and he's really fun, but then tomorrow he's going to be withdrawing and he's going to be really mean? And so it's not uncommon to hear people say like, oh yeah, I can tell my wife's mood simply by how she's holding her keys walking down the hallway. Things like that. Like, those would be signs if somebody shares with me, I can tell that there's probably some FA in there. Also really intense. There's an intensity to FAs. I mean, you can hear it in my voice. I'm really intense. I'm very passionate. We need emotional depth and presence and a sense of knowing that we're safe. Why? Because our deepest core wound is a fear of betrayal. Because of that chaos and that inconsistency of sometimes I felt love, but sometimes I didn't. So I had enough exposure to love to feel, okay, love feels really, really good. I love this feeling of connection. But then also a fair amount of that emotional neglect to where love didn't feel good. And so that's why we tend to really we're constantly scanning the room and reading between the lines. It can cause a lot of inner chaos. FAs can really struggle with emotional dysregulation, intense feelings of anxiety, fear, hurt, anger, emotional volatility. Also very deeply charming, overgiving, high achievers. There's a lot of complexity and beauty to FAs. I have so much love in my heart for FAs, big time.
Me too. Like, me too. I think with the fearful avoidant, right? This is someone who wants a relationship. You want relationship, you want connection. You're aware that you want it, but also tremendously afraid that it's going to go wrong and you're going to get hurt. So what we have here is someone who probably also is thinking a good amount about relationships and love, but the anxious, like, I feel like the anxious preoccupied just like jumps in, and even if there's signs of problems, they kind of just like ignore it, and they're like, let me love you anyway, like I'll just love you more and it'll fix it. The fearful avoidant person, they are like approaching, like hopefully, but they're looking for every potential sign that things could go wrong. Because they're afraid. That's the fearful part, right? Like they're fearful of the relationship becoming sullied, overly fearful, probably to the point that it's impacting the relationship negatively. So at the quickest little sign that something might be wrong, they can withdraw. And that's where we get the hot and cold. And like, if you're fundamentally a person out there and you're like, I don't know. Am I anxious or am I dismissive avoidant? Like, you may be this because the inner world experience, and that's sort of my like zone of influence as a psychic, because I have some real telepathic abilities. So like getting inside the minds of other people, that's my specialty. So like inside the mind of a fearful avoidant person, there is a lot of complexity, because it's like, I want to be with you. I really, 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 really do, but I can't tolerate this and I can't tolerate this. This reminds me of mom, or this reminds me of dad, or I'm afraid you're going to abandon me, or afraid you're going to leave me, or like it's a lot. Like it can be a lot inside. For my appetite metaphor with the fearful avoidant, like I think of sort of two things. One is, now we all know someone like this, and it might be you. It sometimes is me, I'm going to be honest. Like, where it's like the eyes are bigger than the stomach. You know what I mean? Like, you go to a buffet and you're like loading it on. It's like, yeah, I want this spaghetti and I want this chicken and I want this 5 million bajillion desserts, the jello and the cake and the cookies and tacos. And I would also like this rice, and oh, this is really nice too, and a bit of salad. And I would also like the soup, and I love these Takis, and like this is also good. And you like it's like, I want this. I know I want this. And that's the intimacy. Like they're like, yeah, I want a relationship. I know I want this. And then you get down at the table and you start eating, and it's like, no, this is too much. Like, my belly hurts. Like, oh my God, like, I'm full. What am I gonna do? I'm so embarrassed. Because like fearful avoidant people sometimes experience that, because they may ask for intimacy. Like, yes, I want to be in a relationship with you. I want to be your partner. And like, I want to go on a week-long vacation together in Hawaii. And then they get to Hawaii, and like the first thing, like a little thing happens, like maybe their partner's phone lights up and it's someone of the opposite sex, and they freak out and they're like, I'm not ready. Like, I don't want to be here. Like, I this is too much for me. Like, I might get hurt. Like, I can't do this. So the eyes are bigger than the stomach. Another thing could be like, another way this could manifest, like food metaphors, like the person is hungry, but like maybe they're wanting to eat things that are not the best for them, right? Like a lot of people can't digest dairy, for example, but they have these appetites. And so they're like approaching the ice cream. Like you know, it's like in the freezer, and they're like standing there and they're like, should I eat it or should I not eat it? Like, should I eat it? I want it. Like, I really want it. Like, it's so good. But like, that's gonna hurt my belly. Like, oh my gosh, like remember last time, like, and so the person starts to get internally conflicted, like eat it or don't eat it. And they can feel this way about intimacy. Like, I know I like the taste of this, but it hurts my belly. Like maybe in a real sense, like it might hurt the belly. So like, that's how I see fearful avoidant. But could you give us an example of like someone that people might know, like a celebrity out there in the world who exhibits this sort of hot and cold style?
Yeah, somebody who comes to mind is Demi Lovato, and this is, again, more in the extreme, but it's also not uncommon. So Demi Lovato, she has a well-known history of trauma, boundary struggles, substance abuse, and deep emotional swings. She's really intense. She's really passionate. Really just, she has like this, like a strength to her. Like when I think of fearful avoidance, I think of just you're like a rock. You're solid. Like there's like a strength, because you had to be super strong because of your early childhood experiences. And I think that Demi Lovato, just it's particularly with her struggles with substance abuse and wanting to numb out the pain from her early childhood traumas. That's very, very common. And I also think that she is somebody who really exemplifies owning her struggles and doing her personal growth work. And my goodness, is she just, at least at the time of this recording, from what I understand, she seems to be doing really well and getting herself back into herself and doing a great job. So she's not, your attachment style is not fixed again. As you're doing work on yourself, this is how you move toward becoming more securely attached.
Yes. Yeah, I have heard in my research that if a person really becomes disciplined and determined in their approach, they can shift into a far more secure state within about 6 months' time.
Yeah.
So that's great. So like, let's say somebody's out there and they're like, they're like, yeah, I think this is me, right? Like I'm pretty fearful avoidant. Like, what is one small step that they could take toward their healing?
When I'm working with a fearful avoidant, we want to work on questioning your stories. Why? Because here's the thing. So we FAs, we're human lie detectors. We can see all the differences and inflections and tone of the voice and shift in pattern. But we also create a whole lot of stories that feel so real, and then that's what causes the emotional volatility and the anger and the restlessness because of the stories we're telling ourselves. So if I'm working with an FA, with all attachment styles, but FAs in particular, we want to get you into a habit of consistently thinking, what am I making this mean? Can I know for certain this is true? What am I afraid might happen? And is there anything else that might be going on? Like, is there something else that could be happening? Oh, they didn't text you for 3 days. Are they cheating on you? Or were they, are they dismissive avoidant and they needed space? And this is more of a matter of you needing to express and communicate your needs for consistency in communication rather than making a story out of it.
Mm-hmm. And I think being aware of the needs, right? Like, to go back to the food metaphor, it's about what is healthy for me. How much can I really eat in harmony? Do you get what I mean? Like, what are my true appetites for intimacy? And I think first identifying those and then learning to communicate them to the partner, because there might be a mismatch where what the person believes that they're ready for is actually different than what will be good with their brain and body. So Erin is well positioned for sure. I think you're well positioned to help all the types, but with this one, this is one where I think a person really does desire the relationship, and with some small shifts, tools, and strategies, they can get to a more secure place very effectively. Now that might be, like, I'm thinking, okay, like, their journey is going to be different than the next style, which I find to be the easiest one to identify, maybe, like, out there in the world. Because to me personally, like, when I meet someone who's strongly of this style, I can feel it. Do you get what I mean? Like, you can
Yes.
feel it in their presence. And this one is the dismissive avoidant, sometimes known as the lone wolf. This one is like the archetype, you know what I mean, of that like aloof guy. No one can really get him, but everybody's sort of, you know, interested. Like, that's how I see it. But tell us more. Like, who is this dismissive avoidant? What is this? What is this style?
I have such a warm, squishy space in my heart for dismissive avoidance, and I find dismissive avoidance to be the most misunderstood attachment style. So dismissive avoidance, they are the opposite end of the spectrum of an anxious, or as an anxious is much more in their emotions, generally speaking, and needing all that closeness. The dismissive avoidant, or DA, is the opposite. They need a lot of space, independence, freedom. They're also much more in their head. They tend to be more intellectual, rational, logical, very, you know, they can have deep philosophical, intellectually stimulating conversations that aren't too emotional. They also tend to be really grounded. They're really grounded, very practical. They can be really slow to warm up because of that need for distance. And this is often because they tend to be disconnected from their emotions. Why? Because dismissive avoidants are operating under the number one core wound for them, which is something's wrong with me or I'm defective. And where this comes from is DAs often experienced a higher level of or a fair amount of emotional neglect as a child, which is not like corporal punishment. That would be more what we see with an FA. This is more. This is the child who, you know, fell down and scraped their knee and started crying, and their parents said, "Stop crying, stop being a baby," and so they were shamed for having their emotions. So they learned early on, these things called emotions, they don't feel good. So I'm just going to suppress them. I'm going to stuff them down, and I don't need anybody. Because when I go to people and ask them for my needs, I get met with shame. I don't like this feeling, so I'm going to become hyper independent. These are the hyper independents. They have a really hard time asking for help or asking for support, and they really struggle with a shame wound. With this, because if you feel like you're broken or there's something wrong with you, how do you think you feel? A lot of shame. And what does shame make you want to do? It makes you want to run and hide. I don't know about you. Whenever I feel embarrassed or shamed, I don't want to be around anybody. And so there's so much of this that is swirling in the dismissive avoidance subconscious mind that manifests in relationships as, oh, you're getting too close, you're smothering me. They also have fears of being trapped, helpless, powerless, because of needing to just do things on their own. I need my space. I need my independence. Now, here's the misunderstanding. So people often think that DAs don't want relationship or don't want connection, and that could not be further from the truth. They absolutely want love and connection, just like the fearful avoidant does. Because this is the fearful avoidant swing from their anxious side to their DA side. This is the DA side. Is I want the connection, but I fear it at the same time. And what they're really fearing is vulnerability, because they don't want to feel their emotions. Feeling your emotions and expressing your emotions is deeply vulnerable. DAs don't want to feel their emotions at all, so they stuff them down. And this is why they tend to be really conflict avoidant. They're like allergic to conflict. Anytime there's conflict, this is why we're going to see a lot of ghosting, stonewalling, dismissing and pushing back and ignoring, a lot of distancing behaviors, which when in a relationship with an AP, which anxiously attached and dismissive flock to each other like moths to a flame. This is where the anxiously attached takes these behaviors so personally. Oh my gosh, you're abandoning me. And really, it's just coming from the DA's fear of emotions and vulnerability. And so when I'm working with DAs, and yes, DAs absolutely do the work. I've worked with several of them, and it's a magical experience. When I'm working with a dismissive avoidant, we're doing a lot of inner body work. Same thing with FAs as well, nervous system regulation, because DAs can often operate under a lot of low-level anxiety, and it's stemming from this place of like, I just need my space, I need my space, I need my space. And so we want to get them into their body, boosting their emotional literacy, getting them acquainted with the sensations and feelings in their body so that they can learn that emotions are not scary. They're just providing you feedback. All your emotions are telling you is, was a core wound, was the wire chipped from a core wound? Is this an unmet need or a boundary that was violated? And so we do a lot of nervous system regulation, as well as reprogramming the defective wound big time around that. And then, learning to speak their needs for space without triggering the I'm defective wound. There's something wrong with me. I should like to be in relationships. Why do I want all this space? Well, it's a trauma response from feeling like you're going to get shamed for having emotions. So let's train your body to experience your emotions and show your subconscious and your conscious mind that you're safe being in your emotions.
I see the dismissive avoidant as someone who learned to feel safest in the presence of peace. These are peace-loving individuals, and when things start to spike emotionally, that doesn't feel great to them. So if you're out there and you love the dismissive avoidant, learn to be at peace. Like as a starting point, that's some guidance. Now, I would like to share a little bit about my appetite metaphor. Okay, so like this is someone who maybe is a little or a lot uncomfortable with the digestive process. So this is someone where it's like we've all met someone like this too, right? Like they come over to your house and you say, and there's that mom. I don't know, do I attract a lot of moms like this? I definitely do. Like, let me feed you. Come on, sit at the table. And the person says, oh no, that's okay. I just ate. Oh no. Oh no. Or, I'll just have some water. I'm fine. I don't need anything. And that's like the dismissive avoidance. Like, no. Like, no, I don't have needs. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not hungry. Like, I don't need anything from you. This is like the intermittent faster. No, I don't eat. Like, I don't eat until 8. And then all I eat is a applesauce. Like, or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like, their need. So like, if you compare this to the anxious preoccupied, the appetites are significantly lower. This is the cigarettes and a martini, and that's what I have, and then every couple days I get a takeout or a takeaway or whatever, right? Like that's the dismissive avoidant. And it's because like, it's my sense that, the person was not engaged with an emotional intimacy very much, like growing up. So they sort of learn to get comfortable with just a little bit. So like if the caregiver said, for example, I love you once a year on their birthday, they learn to let that be enough. Okay, I understand I'm loved. And then they get used to that. And that begins to feel like their comfort zone. And there's actually like, this is a little bit debatable, right? But like, I think it's true, right? There can be a metabolic adaptation after a lot of dieting, like where a person's metabolic rate actually does decrease when they take in less. And that's what I sort of feel like for a dismissive avoidance. Like they get used to less emotional connection, less communication, less intimacy, and their system adapts to that and it starts to feel normal. And so then a lot of their journey, this one's probably, all the journeys are kind of beautiful, but this one, like learning to enjoy intimacy again, learning to enjoy connection again.
Yeah, learning to feel safe in their emotions, feel safe in vulnerability. Because, DAs have a shrunken emotional bandwidth. So a night out with their partner who even if they're like 10 out of 10 in love with their partner, that's going to fill their cup real fast. And then the next day it's like, okay, I'm good. I've had my fill. And especially if the night out contained a lot of emotional vulnerability, like there was a lot of emotional connection, DAs the next day can experience what Brene Brown calls the vulnerability hangover, to where they're just like, so much. I need space. And that's when we don't hear from them for 2 or 3 days. And it's because they're recuperating from so much emotional expression. And again, this is where the issues arise between the anxious and the dismissive avoidant, which is a conversation. Relational dynamics, that's a whole other conversation. Fascinating.
Yeah, imagine these two at the buffet, right? Like, the, like, anxious attachment's got, like, 20 plates, and then, like, the next morning, they're like, hey, you want to go get those giant cinnamon rolls? And, like, the dismissive avoidant, like, the prior night had 1 plate of spaghetti and is like, no, like, I don't want to eat until next week. I'm so full from last night, you know? Like, there's different appetites in these two. But, yeah, you're right. They completely love each other, like, maximally, very often. Very often, the dismissive avoidant and the anxious preoccupied fall in love. I would say very often the dismissive avoidant and the fearful avoidant also fall in love.
Yeah, there's again a whole other that's a deep dive conversation, but then there's deep psychological reasons why they're gravitated toward each other, and and the dynamics between them are very nuanced. But once you begin to notice the patterns, again, this is what attachment styles are. They're patterns. Once you begin to notice the patterns, then you can change it, you know? Then you become aware of it. It's fascinating for sure.
Okay, so before we move on, could you give us a celebrity example of a dismissive avoidant type?
Sure. Somebody who comes to mind is Keanu Reeves. So Keanu Reeves, he's kind of known for his mystery and his emotional distance. He's very self-sufficient. He's very simplistic too. He rides the subway and he gives all his money away to charity. And I would also say that he probably has a fair amount of fearful avoidant because of the extreme amount of trauma that he's experienced in his life. But
he rides the subway?
Yeah, he's like really been documented riding the subway. I believe it's the subway in New York. Like he's just kind of keeps it even keel. He has this very grounded energy about him. But because of that high amount of trauma that he's experienced in his life, I mean, he's lost a child, he's lost his significant other. I think his sister passed away. So there's been a lot of extreme traumas that would definitely bring in more of that FA fearful side. But overall, I would say that he's kind of like a Clint Eastwood. Like Clint Eastwood is like a classic emotionally stoic masculinity, just very distant and very stoic. Stoic is a great way to describe dismissive avoidance. I also want to say on a lighter note for dismissive avoidance, they just want harmony. They want lightness. They're the no drama llama, okay?
That's what I was saying. Give them peace and they'll love you forever. Just be at peace all the time. Just sit next to them in peace and then go in your own space for like a week and be in peace. And then when you come back, be in peace again, and you'll have them.
Yeah, and they also did have a really good sense of humor. I find that dismissive avoidants are freaking hilarious, like, because they want the lightness. They're like, no, we're not going to go deep and heavy into all that emotional stuff. We're going to keep it light and fun and airy. And as a result, I love being around dismissive avoidance. So I'm fearful avoidant. I have a really sensitive nervous system. I find DAs to be like a breath of fresh air. They're just grounded and practical and
grounded energy.
There you go.
They can be sarcastic though in their humor. 100%. Now, okay, we've got to talk about what I think is really the enigma of today, which is the securely attached individual. This is what many people are aiming for, right? And you describe this type as the soul-aligned anchor. Why do you call the securely attached individual the soul-aligned anchor?
Right. And I'll reiterate what I had said earlier, that when I hear somebody say that they want to be happy, the subtext of what I'm hearing them say is they want to be secure. And this is because secure attached folks are really just grounded in their self-trust and emotional regulation. They're also able to give and receive love with ease. They communicate their needs clearly, create healthy boundaries. They don't fear intimacy, nor do they lose themselves in it. Their presence is often healing to others, and they really model what it means to be safe and emotionally connected to self. Really just stable, well-adjusted, a healthy amount of self-esteem, comfortable setting boundaries. They want to seek resolution to conflicts in a really healthy mature manner. Really accountable, steady, consistent, patient, emotionally balanced. That's how I would describe the securely attached individual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for my food metaphor, this is like the person who's like, yeah, I pretty much, I'm aware of nutrition, but I basically I eat whatever I want and I just maintain my weight. Like I eat a balanced diet, like a lot of fruits and vegetables, but I go out too, and like, yeah, I never really struggled like with my relationship with food. It's all good. Like this is someone they're never deficient, right? Like, no, I'm it's the healthy eater. No extremes, right? Like that's what I see for the securely attached individual. And much like I think, with food itself, like with attachment theory, this is notable. Like when you come across somebody who's harmonious in this way and has an intuitive sense of what level of intimacy is right? This is like the equivalent of intuitive eating, right? Like they just kind of are able to sense, okay, here's what the relationship needs. And they flow and flow and flow. It feels quite good in my experience to sort of be in the presence of this type of individual. And often I've seen this in relationship where being partnered with a securely attached individual can sort of alter the style of the other person.
Absolutely.
Who might be less secure.
Especially that modeling and modeling healthy communication. So like if there's a lot of yelling in the relationship, like if a secure person is with an FA and the FA is, feeling emotionally volatile and they start yelling, the secure person is going to oftentimes stay grounded in their body, and by using their words through healthy communication would say something to the effect of, I don't do yelling scares me. We can talk in 15 minutes. Boundaries. So boundaries, communication, staying within, staying connected and true to themselves. And there's a solidity with securely attached people for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
What might be a sign that someone is securely attached? Like if someone thinks, this might be me, like how might they know?
Yeah, I would say that they're not, securely attached people are not operating from their unhealed core wounds and unmet needs. It's not taking up all that real estate in their mind. So that's why they tend to be more clear and emotionally regulated. So yeah, they can have, core wounds or limiting beliefs, but they tend to be more situation specific. For example, let's say if a securely attached person fails an exam at school, they're not going to attribute that to them as a person, like, oh, I'm a failure, I'm stupid, I'm not enough. They're going to see that situation as, oh, maybe I should have studied more. Okay, I guess I'll study harder next time, or something like that. Or another one would be, if they feel excluded, if they're like excluded from a group outing, instead of it being a personal attack of, oh, it must be me, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not likable. They're not going to attach those stories to it. It might just be like, oh, well, that was rude. Or, they might not even make a story out of it, like, oh, cool, I hope they had fun. Like, they're not going to do something spiteful, like, oh, I'm going to post a picture on my Instagram and show them that I'm hanging out with my other friends. Like, that's something that we would see with, like, maybe like a fearful avoidant or something like that has like maybe like more spiteful tendencies. Securely attached person is not going to personalize it. And because they're so good at meeting their needs, needs is that's a whole other conversation we can have. When you are living outside of your own personality needs, that's where the resistance and the anxiety comes from. But because securely attached people are very in tune with themselves, they understand their needs, they know how to meet their needs, they know how to communicate their needs, and they know how to receive their needs, they tend to be more emotionally regulated as a result of that. Yeah. And because they just live a standard of harmony, balance, direct communication, they're very consistent and accountable. That is their standard. And, you teach people how to treat you and what you allow, you encourage. And the secure person, this is who they are in their inner world. They're not grappling with all these unhealed early childhood traumas. So there's just a lot more clear space internally. And that clear space leaves room for more creativity and working on projects and being able to relax in their body. Somebody who struggles with a whole lot of internal early childhood trauma, they're going to have a hard time relaxing in their body. This is where the self-soothing comes in. And securely attached people, more often than not, don't necessarily have as much of an issue with that. And if they realize that they're tense, well, they're going to go get a massage, or they're going to do their own personal work to clear the energy.
Yeah, I find often with these individuals, like if you talk to them about their relationship history, they often have, relationships that lasted a long time. Like, I was with this person for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. This is what was good. Here's how I contributed to maybe some aspects of the relationship that were not that good, but here's how I contributed in a positive way. I think that person did their best. I did my best. We separated in a mutual way. Another thing I hear these people say a lot is like, I'm really inspired by my parents' relationship, and I hope to have a marriage like theirs. Or like, my grandparents, they were truly in love, and I'm modeling my own marriage after that. So there's a history of healthy, strong relationships when you look back. Now, could you provide to us a celebrity example of someone who might be securely attached?
Yes. So somebody comes to mind off the bat is Oprah Winfrey. I would say that this is more post-healing. She had her own early childhood traumas, though she's definitely a great example of somebody who's had, a ton of trauma and has healed to become secure. She just really exhibits such a strong sense of self with this relational integrity. She's really grounded, emotionally balanced, and just really secure in her identity. I also see her as somebody who's able to hear. I mean, her whole career is, in interviewing and getting to understand multiple perspectives. Somebody with a secure attachment can hear the perspective of another without taking it personally. And Oprah Winfrey really demonstrates that so well, I think, that she's able to hear this multitude of perspectives and really hear what somebody is saying without taking it personally. And I think she models that so well.
That's true. That was like my favorite show in high school, the Oprah show.
Yeah, me too.
The space that she was able to hold for people of all different backgrounds. But you're right, like it wasn't like what you would experience with like an anxious preoccupied. She didn't let people get away with everything. She would say, yeah, listen, I hear what you're saying. I understand you to a certain extent, but what you did there wasn't right, and you know it. You know what I mean? And I think that's that's why people loved her. That's why people loved her show.
It wasn't all that people pleasing. She's just very direct and strong in herself, and that is like the hallmark of a securely attached individual. And the good news here is if anybody is struggling with an insecure attachment style, you can heal to become secure at any age, 40, 50, 60. I have a 67-year-old male client who is becoming so tremendously secure, and his anxiety is reduced. He's no longer experiencing anger bursts and able to hear the perspective of others. And it's just, it's wild. It's a magical experience to watch this and witness this, and having my own experience of, I was a raging fearful avoidant at one time, and, really struggled with anger, depression, chronic migraines, brain fog, mysterious gut issues. I couldn't relax in my body. I was a chronic people pleaser, and I would consistently attract emotionally unavailable people into my life. And it's because I was so disconnected from myself and who I am. And through all these practices that I've incorporated into my world, and then proceeded to study, because that's what we FAs do. We research things to the bone. I've developed I'm still very much on my healing journey, though I'm predominantly secure now, and I'm here to help dispel the myth that, particularly with fearful avoidance, because there's this myth that, if you're fearful avoidant, or often referred to as disorganized attachment, that you can't heal, and I'm living proof that you absolutely can. That you absolutely can. When you learn to target the subconscious mind, the root of healing, you can heal.
Oh my gosh. I'm here to tell you, if you're alive, healing is possible. None of us make our transition until our healing, at least for this life, is done. So if you're still here, if you're still breathing, there's something that can be healed and remedied so that you can feel better and more vibrant than before. And yeah, I have clients that are in their 90s. You know, I think my oldest client's about like 99, and she works with me annually on her birthday, and she always says, you know what, Maya Joy, I think this might be the last time. But then like she just keeps going on and on and on and on and on. So healing is possible, and it does, I think, begin with first identifying like where you are. And so if you're out there and you're like, where am I again? I want to remind you that we've got in the description box a link for the attachment style quiz on Erin's website. You can speak with her for a half an hour for free to learn some strategies to work with your attachment style as well. Links for that will also be in the description box and a pinned comment. And if that were not enough, we have another very, 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 very special gift for anybody who made it to the end today. Because you all are the ones that are really here for this. I understand that, okay? And that is that Dr. Erin has been so kind to give away a free breakthrough session to help you to get to the root of what may be distressing you and causing some suffering related to your attachment and your relationships. And so this is a deep dive. So if you want to win this session, which is valued at over $200, you can do this very easily. You will be entered to win this free breakthrough session if you put the lotus emoji. The lotus emoji, which will be in the title of this video, as a comment below. The lotus emoji and your first name in the comments below. We are going to be pulling the winner on the evening of June 1st. So get on it and post your lotus emoji. Post your lotus emoji now. In the description box, there will also be a coupon code for 10% off any service with Erin. And this is using the code. What is it, Erin? Tell us.
We'll use code Maya.
Okay, so we're going to use the code Maya. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Like, I'm so blessed and lucky. So if you are just saying, you know what? June 1st is a long time away. I want to work with Dr. Erin. I want to go deep and I want to do it now. You can book with her and you can get 10% off by using the code Maya. Okay? Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And get ready to have a profound healing experience. Dr. Erin, this has been a fascinating interview. You are, like I was telling her when we were beginning, you know, she's like a library within. You know, you are a storehouse of wisdom. And I know it was hard. I actually asked Dr. Erin, I said, Dr. Erin, you're going to need to hold back. Okay, like a lot. Like you're going to need to hold back a lot because my audience is not ready for the level of depth that you can offer. And they may be ready, but they may not have 45 hours like to go through all of it. So we're good. We got to start them out with an hour today. So this hour for me, it has just sailed by. I have so much to reflect on now. Dr. Erin, like, thank you from the bottom of my heart and soul. Thank you for joining us today and for sharing your incredible wisdom. And I hope and pray that any of my audience out there, anyone who's been a loyal subscriber or who's just finding us today, anyone who can benefit from connecting with you, that they will go forward and connect with you and that they can work together to come to a more secure place within themselves to have the beautiful stuff of life. Those closely connected relationships with self, like you said, with spirit, and with all those souls who walk among us.
Yes. Oh, my pleasure. This was so much fun. I loved every minute of it. And it is my absolute honor and privilege to hold a lantern for people to walk into your inner world and feel safe and secure and to fall in love with who you are, the magnificence of who you are. It is my absolute joy in life. I have full body chills saying this right now, and it would be my honor and a privilege to work with anybody who feels called.
Yay, yay, yay. Dr. Erin, we love you, and those out, whoever you are out there listening, we love you. Thank you for spending your precious time with us. If you like this kind of content, please let us know. Please let us know in the comments below. If you just like the energy, please join the Maya Joy community for a wide variety of different videos and topics and themes, all related to helping you to have your best experience of living this human life, exploring your gifts, your talents, paying off our karmic debts, growing our soul, living our destiny. We're here to make all of that a little bit better. So thank you so much for joining us today. Many blessings to all of you, and namaste. Bye.